this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make a bracelet with the newest Treasure Bags Pastel Passion. However, these beads are very common shape and size, and you can use any beads you have in your stash to do this. And we're basically just using rondelles and seed beads. So get into your stash and find something if you do not have a treasure bag, and you could bead right along with me. So this is color mix 1, this is color mix 2 in the Pastel Passion treasure bag line, and this is what the clasping looks like. It's just really cute design. It's something I did on my other channel years ago called Petite Sparkles. I have modified that one, changed the size of the beads to accommodate these beads, and this is what I came up with, and I think it turned out really cute. It's kind of like little Lacy Squares, just adorable. So that's what that looks like. Like I said, this is color mix 1, this is color mix 2, this is the one we make on the video today. And let's go ahead and look at what it takes to make this particular bracelet. And just remember, these can be substituted with anything you want to substitute them with as far as rondelles go. So let's go ahead and look and get started on this project. Okay, for this tutorial today, we are going to be using some of the beads from the newest treasure bags called Pastel Passion. Now, you either have color mix 1 or color mix 2, or both, and I'm going to show you how to make this bracelet with color mix 2. I've already made one with color mix 1, and you can see how really pretty that turned out. I'm going to tell you what I'm using for color mix 2, and then I'm going to show you what I used for color mix 1. So you're going to need your 6 by 5, I cannot speak, your 6 by 5 rondelles. So these are opaque baked painted beads, and in color mix 2 they are this really pretty bright pink. In color mix 1 they are this misty rose color. So in color mix 1, this is what you're going to be using. In color mix 2, this one. And then we are going to be using some 8/0, 11/0, and 15/0 seed beads. You can't see my 15/0s, but they're over here. And for color mix 2, I am using Ceylon Innocent Pink, and then I'm using for the 11/0 and the 15/0, I'm using Galvanized Permanent Finish Starlight in the Toho line. Then you will be using for your color mix 1, I have been using the Frosted Rosaline in the Toho line. So these are transparent Frosted Rosaline. You can use any beads you want. You can make them all the same color. It doesn't matter. I just really think that these beads complement these beads, and I think that these beads complement these. So that's how I'm doing it. And then you're going to be using your 4x3 rondelles you got in your bag. Now you either got this little frosted white, or you got a little bit more opaque white in color mix 2. This is what you're going to be using, unless you want to use one of your other 4x3s like these. I was considering using these opalite green color ones, but I'm going to use my white ones. And then in color mix 1, you will be using your opalite beads. So the 4x3. So that, I'll let you look at color mix 1 so you can see exactly what I did. I have the Rosaline and the Misty Rose and the opalite, and then I just used some Galvanized Permanent Finish Starlight. So that's what we'll be using as far as the beads are concerned, depending on your color mix. And we'll be using a toggle clasp. I have this little gold toggle clasp. I think it was in my last treasure bag. So I'm going to use one of those. You can, of course, use one of your lobster claws that came in this bag too. That would work just fine. So let's go ahead. Oh, and we need some thread. So I'm using 10-pound Nanofil in this one. You can also use 6-pound Fireline. That's fine. Don't use anything bigger than 6-pound Fireline, because it will be difficult to pass through your 15/0s too many times if you do that. And then, we're not going to pass through them a lot, but still. And then I'm using a size 12 beading needle. So let's go ahead and get started with this project. Okay, to start this project, you're going to put about 4.5 to 5 feet of thread onto your needle. You will need to extend your thread during this process. So I will post a video in the description box beneath the video player, a link to a video that will show you how to extend your Fireline or Nanofil if you do not know how. Once you have threaded your needle, then you're going to pick up onto your needle 4 8/0 seed beads. In this particular color mix, I'm using the Ceylon Innocent Pink, and I'm going to bring them all the way down to the end of my thread. I'm going to leave enough to tie a knot. Then I'm going to go up through the first bead from the tail side, hold on to that bead, hold on to your thread, and pull your thread all the way through on the working side of your thread, and this is what you should have. Now we're going to sew back through all of these beads, and we're going to go one at a time. Now I am going to cover the beads so that I can pull my thread through without pulling them off the thread. So I'm just going through the first one, then I'm going to go through the second one, cover my beads, and then go into the last one. And then right where the working thread and the tail thread meet, I'm going to tie a knot. So now I'm just going to straighten my little beads out, and you should have something that looks like this. Then we are going to sew around it one more time and come out where our tail is. Or yes, so we're coming out here. We're going to go into the next bead, and the reason we're doing this is because this is our clasping unit and we want it to be nice and strong. So I'm just sewing through all of them, and yes, I'm covering my beads. I have so many people tell me that that's an issue, but I don't know how else to keep my tension and hold on to it well without covering them. I try to show you each bead before I go into it. So there we go. Now I'm on this third bead here. I'm going to go up into the one where the tail is. If you're not slips like mine just did, just pull on the tail and pull on the working thread, and it will tighten back up. That's why we're not getting rid of our tail just yet, because we want it to be more secure before we do. Then we are going to put on our clasping first. So we're going to pick up 2 11/0 seed beads and an 8/0, just like this. We're going to drop the 2 11/0s and the 8/0 down to our little piece. Then we're going to pick up our clasp and go through the loop on the clasp. Now I've just dropped it down close to my piece, and I am going to go into the 8/0 seed bead, and just the 8/0. I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to pull my thread through and draw this down, just like that. And this is what you have. Then we're going to pick up 2 11/0 seed beads. We're coming out of the 8/0, and we're going to go into the other side of the bead we're anchoring to. So we're going to go into this side, or actually, sorry, wrong. We're going to go into the side with the tail, right here. So this is what you should have, just like that. Now we're going to sew back through this a couple of times. I'll do it once with you on camera, and then we'll go off camera and secure it again. So I'm just going to pick this up, and I am coming out of this bead right here. I'm going to go up into the 2 11/0s and the 8/0, and then into my clasp, just like this. I'm going to hold on to it, pull my thread through, and then I'm going to go back down into the 8/0 and the 2 11/0s on this side, just like this. I'm going to hold on to it, pull my thread through, and then I am going to go back through the bead I am attaching to right here. And get my tail out of there since I just pulled it in. And now you're going to go ahead and sew through this 2 more times and we'll be back. Okay, so I have secured my clasping and this is what my piece looks like now. I'm coming out of the 8/0 seed bead that we attached the clasping to, and now I'm going to sew through this bead and this one here and start my unit from this bead. So we're going to pick this up, go down into this first bead here, and then we're going to go into this bead here. Now we're going to pick up 12 11/0 seed beads onto our needle. Okay, so I have 12 seed beads. I'm going to drop them down. And then just to make sure that I did them correctly, I will just count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So I have 12. And then I'm just going to go into the opposite side of the bead I'm connecting to, just like this. And I'm going to pull them down into a circle. Then I'm going to go through 3 of the 11/0 seed beads on the side I'm coming out of the 8/0. So just go down 3 beads and pull your thread through. Now you don't want to pull your beads really tight because we're going to be inserting beads between them. So leave that little bit of slack in there. And then we're going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead and we're going to go into the next 3 11/0s, just like this. I'm going to hold on to them because this way I can keep them secure and I can pop that bead down in there, just like that. Now if I tightened it too much, this side's a little too tight, I can loosen it slightly. Now I'm coming out of these 3 11/0s, I'm going to pick up another 8/0 seed bead, and I'm going to go into the next 3 11/0s, just like this. I'm going to hold on to my piece, pull that down, and pop it in, just like this. Now if I need to, I can still kind of get a little slack here, pick up an 8/0, and then go into the next 3 11/0s. Do not go into the 8/0 here. Just go through the 3 11/0s. Pull this down and tighten it. Now kind of take your beads and squish them down a little bit like this. So just take the whole unit and just pull it down. Then we're going to skip this 8/0 seed bead and we're going to go into the 3 11/0s on this side. So go down into the 3 11/0s and then up into the 8/0. And it takes a little navigation to get it through. Once you have done that, then pull your needle through. Don't stab yourself like I just did. And pull this down and pull it tight. That should draw this into a diamond shape, just like this. And you're going to see a tiny bit of thread there, but you shouldn't see a ton. And you should have your beads all looking pretty uniform. Now we're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead here. We are going to put an embellishment on the top. Now, the only difference I've made from my pattern in Color Mix 1 to this one is I have noticed that these beads have a pretty good size hole, and when I use my 15/0 seed beads to do my embellishment, they slide through. So on this one, I used 2 15/0 seed beads and then put my bead on and 2 15/0s. On this one, we're going to pick up an 11/0 and then a 15/0 so that they don't slide through the holes of the beads. So I'm going to go through this. I have an 11/0 and a 15/0, and I actually want it the other way around. So I want to pick up a 15/0 first and then an 11/0 and then my bead, just like this. And then I'm going to pick up an 11/0 and a 15/0, and I'm going to drop this down. You can do this on both, or you can just use 2 15/0s with beads that don't have as big of holes. Now we're coming out of this one here. We're going to go straight across into the same side of the one opposite, the one we're coming out of. And we're going to hold on to it and pull this up. Push it onto the piece and pull your thread. Just kind of maneuver it up there like this. And then we're going to pick up a 15/0 and then an 11/0 seed bead, like this, and then I'm going to go into this bead here. Just straight into the middle bead, pull this down, and then you're going to pick up an 11/0 and a 15/0. You want to make sure the 11/0 is the one closest to the bead. Then we're just going to go into the opposite side of the bead we started in, right here. And pull this down. And this is what it should look like. Now, we're going to go into these 3 11/0s, which can be kind of difficult to pass through because the 8/0s want to block the needle. So what I am doing is I'm just kind of pushing it through and moving my 8/0 around until I can get all the way through these 3 11/0s into the 8/0. And then I'm going to pull my thread through, just like that. Now you have your first unit. We're going to make an extension like this one between each unit. So we are now coming out of this 8/0 on the bottom of the unit. We're going to pick up 3 8/0 seed beads. And then we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of, and we're going to pull this down, just like this. Now I'm going to sew back through this entire little unit we just made. So I'm coming out here, I'm going to go into the very next one, and I'm going to go through one at a time, and they're loose and wobbly. Just, you know, keep pulling your thread until you get them the way you want them. And then I'm going to go through this one, then I'm going to go through this one, and then I'm going to go back through this one here. Now I have to work my way down to this bottom bead, so I'm going to go through this one and this one. So I'm going to go here, and you can see I'm giving a tug after each one so I can tighten my unit up, just like that. Then I'm going to pick up 12 11/0 seed beads again. Drop them down and make sure you have the proper amount. Okay, I have 12. I'm going to go into the opposite side of the bead I'm coming out of, just like that. Okay, we have our nice loose circle here. We're just going to kind of hold it into place with our finger and our thumb, and then just go through the first 3 11/0 seed beads, just like this, and pull your thread through. Tighten it slightly, pick up a 8/0 seed bead, and go into the next 3 11/0s. Like this. And then pull your bead into place while holding on to those other beads. Now, yes, my fingers are covering the project, but I have to use my fingers, people. So, you know, okay. So now I'm picking up 1 8/0 seed bead, and I'm going down into 3 11/0 seed beads here. And I'm going to pull that down into place, just like that. And just make sure I have enough slack here so that I can get my next 8/0 seed bead in. So I'm coming out of these 3 here. I'm going to go into these 3 here, and not the 8/0 seed bead, just the 11/0s. I'm going to pull this in, and now I'm going to just kind of pull on my unit and bring the 11/0s down towards the bottom of that 8/0 seed bead. And don't distort your entire piece doing this, just gently. And then if they don't go that well, they will when you do this. So you're going to skip over from that 11/0, and you're going to go into this 11/0 on the opposite side, and into all 3 of them and the 8/0. So I'm skipping from here to here. Then I'm going to push that thread down, and I'm going to pull, and that draws my unit in together like this. Like I said, don't be brutal, but it does take a little bit of force to get it down. And then I'm just going to straighten this out. Now I'm going to pick up onto my needle to make my embellishment. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead, and then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, and then I'm going to pick up one of my rondelles, and then an 11-0 and a 15-0. Just like this. I'm going to go straight across into the unit on the other side, or into the bead on the other side. And I'm just going to kind of hold on to it and push it up over the top. And somehow I got my thread underneath there, so let me fix that. There we go. Now I'm going to pick up an 11-0, or excuse me, a 15-0 and an 11-0 onto my needle. And go back into this bead right here. Just like this. I'm going to hold on to that bead and pull this down. Then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 and a 15-0 and go into this bead here. Now this is the tough part, getting through these three. So you have to go through these 3 8-0s. Then I just kind of push it around, or 3 11-0s, and then I push it around until I can get up into that 8-0. Or you can exit the 11-0s and then go into the 8-0. But because of where the 8-0 is positioned, it blocks the beads a little bit. So you have to kind of be patient and move them around a little bit. Now let's do one more unit and then we'll go to length, because this is very repetitive from this point. We need to put an extension in between the 2 units. So we pick up 3 8-0 seed beads. We're coming out this side, we go into this side, and we pull this down. Then we are going to sew through all of these beads. I like to just turn my piece over. It makes it a little easier to travel through, and then I'll just turn it back over. And just go through all 4 of the beads here. Now I'm back in the connecting bead. I'm again going to go through this bead and this bead. Okay, so there is my connection. Then again, I pick up 11-0 or 12 11-0 seed beads. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, so we're coming out here. We're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of and pull this into a circle. Now we're going to go up into 3 of our 11-0 seed beads right here, just like this. Leave everything kind of loose. When you pull it in, don't pull it real tight. Leave a little slack in there. Pick up an 8-0. Go into the next 3 11-0s on your piece. Right here. And then I'm going to hold on to it and I'm going to pull this bead down. Now sometimes it twists and you have to untwist it to get it to go back in there correctly. So you want it to just sit on the edge of the 11-0s. And I'm going to get a little closer for this one just to make sure everyone can see. Now I'm coming out of these 3 11-0s. I'm going to pick up an 8-0 and I'm going to go into the next 3 11-0 seed beads, just like this. And I'm going to pull this down while holding onto my unit and pop that guy in there nice and tight. And if I need to, I can get myself a little bit more slack, not a lot, don't mess everything up. And then pick up an 8-0 seed bead and go through the 3 11-0s here, but don't go through the 8-0. Now just kind of pull your unit down a little bit, and then you're going to skip this 8-0 and you're going to go down into these 3 11-0s on this side and into the 8-0. And I stabbed myself again. I guess it's stabbing myself day, I don't know. So I'm going to go back into here and into this 8-0 without stabbing myself and dropping my piece because it hurt. Alright, now I'm just going to kind of bring that down, bring this little thread over and pull this down, just like that, so that you have a really nice little diamond shape. Now I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and then an 11-0, and then I'm going to pick up one of my rondelles. Then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 and a 15-0, and I'm going to go straight across into this bead right here. And I'm going to pull this down and pop it over the top. And it gets easier as you get more length to hold on to. The first couple are kind of jiggly. And then we're going to pick up a 15-0 and then an 11-0. And we're going to go into the rondelle right here. See if I can position this a little better. And pull this through. Tighten it down. Then pick up an 11-0 and a 15-0 and go into this 8-0 here. Now I can just position everything, make sure it looks nice like this, give it some tension, and then I have to go up into these 3 11-0 seed beads here. And again, like I said, sometimes they can be pretty tight and tough to get into, so just manipulate your needle around until you can get up through them. Now here, I only went through the 3 11-0s. That's fine, I'm through. So I'm going to pull this through, and then I'm going to go up into the 8-0 here. Now I have to fix up my little embellishment because I made it look funny, so I'm just going to fix it up a little bit and then pull on my thread again. There we go. Okay, so that's what you're going to continue doing, and you'll just make sure you put your extension next. So here we'll put our extension, our little right angle weave, and then make our next unit. And we're going to continue doing that until you have 9 of your main units and 10 of your little units in between. So this is going to make exactly a 7-inch necklace if you measure, or bracelet, excuse me, if you measure from the middle of your toggle over. Right now it is almost 7 inches, about 6 3/4. So once I put my ending on, then I'm going to end up with a right at a 7-inch bracelet. So that kind of lets you know if you need to make more or less units to make a longer or shorter bracelet. You're going to get a slight bit of shrinkage when you put on your next embellishment. Not a lot, but you will get some. So if I show you this one that's finished, you can see that there's not a whole lot of shrinkage. Okay, so now I'm coming out of this very last one here, and I've made my little unit. Of course, I made my main unit, my little unit, and now I'm coming out of the top bead of that unit. I am going to put on my clasping by picking up 2 11-0 seed beads. If you need a tiny bit more length, which I think I'm going to give myself just a tiny bit more length, I'm going to pick up 2 8-0s on this side. So I've got 2 11-0s and 2 8-0s. And then I'm going to go through my clasp loop. Then I'm going to go through just these 2 8-0 seed beads right here. And I'm going to hold on to them, and I'm going to pull my clasp down to my piece, just like that. Now I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads onto my needle, and I'm going to go through the other side of the bead I'm attaching to, right here. And pull this through if I can pick it up. There we go. Now we're just going to sew back through this entire thing like we did on the other end at least 2 more times, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have secured my clasping now, and I'm coming out of this bead that I attached my clasping to. We're going to now do an embellishment all the way down one side of the bracelet. So we're coming out of this bead, so we're going to go down into this bead right here. We're now going to use our 4x3 rondelles, or a 4mm round, and we're going to pick up a a 15-0 seed bead, come here, and then one of our beads, and then a 15-0 seed bead, just like this. Then we're coming out of this side bead of this unit. We're going to go into the 8-0 on the side of the main unit. So just go from that side arm to this one, just like this. Then we're going to pick up another 15-0, and then one of our 4x3s, and then a 15-0, and we're going to slide from this bead to this one here. And we're just going to continue doing that. So I'll pick up a 15-0, one of my crystals, a 15-0, and then go down into the next 8-0 seed bead that's sticking out, just like that. So you're going from the unit on the main unit, you're going from this outside bead to the middle bead in your small units. And you're just going to continue doing that the entire length of the bracelet. When you get all the way to the very end, we'll be back and I'll show you how to start the other side. Okay, so I've put my embellishment all the way from this end to this end. I have my very last embellishment on, so I'm coming out of this side one right here on this main unit, and I'm going to go up into the side arm on the unit that the clasping's attached to. I'm just going to go up into that one. Then I'm going to travel up into the top bead in the small unit here. I'm going to turn my piece, and I'm going to travel down into this unit here. And at this point I can cut my little tail down, and I'll leave a little bit of a tag, and I'll just burn that in. You can use your thread burner, you can use a lighter, just roll that in. And now we are going to finish this entire side with the same embellishment. So I'm coming out of the side unit here. I pick up a 15-0, 4x3, and a 15-0. Now this is a modification of a design I did several years ago on my YouTube channel, Gina's Gem Creations, and I did it with bicones and just 11-0s and 15-0s. I've modified it for these beads, but if you recognize this pattern, that's what it is. And you can check out that one too if you want to make a little daintier look. I think it's called Dainty Sparkles or something like that. So here is my embellishment. I'm coming from here. I'm going to go into this one here and pull that into place. Now you want to make sure that you don't bunch your piece, but you want to make sure you have nice tight tension all the way around. It's going to shrink your bracelet a tiny bit, but you want to make sure that these beads are not sloppy. So make sure that as you come around and you put your first one in, you get a nice lot of tension to keep these really tight, and then continue working all the way to the end of this side until we get down here, and then we'll be back. Okay, so now you can see I have done the embellishment on this side all the way to the very end. I have my very last one on, coming out of the side of this main unit, going into the side of this small unit here. Pull, and then kind of straighten it out. Make sure there's no slack, but don't let your bracelet be bunched either. And then go into the top bead where your clasping is. And then right here, between the 11-0s for your clasping and the 8-0, there's a little thread bridge here. We're going to go underneath it with our needle, create a loop, and go through that loop with our needle and pull a knot down. And then we're going to sew down into this side bead here. We're going to go up into the 15-0, 11-0, or 15-0, our rondelle, 15-0, and this 8-0 here. And then I'm just going to go between this 8-0 and 15-0. I'm going to make another loop and pull another knot down. Then I'm going to go into the 15-0 seed bead here, the rondelle, the 15-0, and the next 8-0. And I'm going to try to make a knot on the between the 8-0s on the small unit here of right angle weave. So I'm going to pull this down and make sure I haven't gone through anything else. There we go. Make a loop, tie a knot, and put it down between those 8-0s. And then I'm just going to sew into the 8-0 all the way around this unit, just to make sure that everything's secure. On this bead, I'm poking my needle out towards the back of the bracelet. Then I'm going to cut this down, leaving a tag so that I can burn that down and create another knot with the blob here. And my bracelet is finished. And here's the other one. And like I said, I do like it a little better with the 15-0s instead of 11-0s and 15-0s like I did on this one. It's just the size of the hole was making that difficult on these beads. So just know that if you don't like how much more bold the 11-0s are on this, you can do 15-0s. It's just that with this particular bead, you can use any other 6x5, it would probably be fine. But with this particular bead, it has a pretty good size hole. And that was the issue, is my 15-0s were falling into it. But you can see, here's both versions, and let me back up just a little more, and they turned out really, really cute. So I'm going to put this one on and let you see what it looks like on, and then I'll put the other one on. And they're both really, really, really cute. I kind of am leaning towards the peach one, but like I said, with this pink one too, I like the pink one, it's adorable, but you could use whatever color that you wanted with it in the treasure bag. We have a bunch of different beads that we could use on the side here. This is a 4mm round, I believe, but or it looks like it might be a 4x3, but it should work anyway. But you could use whatever beads you want. But I think the pink and white turned out pretty, and I really like the Rosalind and the Misty Rose color here. I think it turned out really pretty. So that's what those look like. Here's the clasping. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please consider subscribing, maybe hitting the notification bell so that we can continue making pieces together. And if you want to be really, really nice, then you can hit that little thumbs up. That helps my channel and it motivates me to make more videos. So that's what we made today, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.